Hey everyone, Nam here again, back to talk about another case that was featured on Unsolved Mysteries, and this case was probably one of the more popular cases in terms of the person's status, and that is none other than Nirvana's Kurt Cobain. Now I know a lot of people, there's a lot of controversy surrounding this case. Was it a suicide? Was it a murder? Is this just a bunch of conspiracy nuts? Going around. Uh, to start with that, Tom Grant was hired as a private investigator to locate Kurt after he had left the drug rehab center, I believe on March 31st or April 1st. I'd have to check that again just to be sure, but it was around that time. And then leading up during the events up to when his body was found by the electrician on April 8th. His body by the coroner was ruled. He had been ruled to have been dead by April 5th, so his body was up in the greenhouse for a good 48 to 72 hours until it was discovered. Just some questions that I think need to be answered, and I think even anyone who thinks it's a suicide would think they would still want answers to. And a couple of them, let's start just for one. Kurt's credit card was missing, and the significance of that was the fact that it was being used from April 5th up until April 8th, and I'm making those dates specifically because the coroner ruled his death as being April 5th, and his body was discovered on April 8th. So it's clearly evident that someone was using a credit card. But who was it, and why were they using his credit card? And all of a sudden, it just stopped after his body was found. So that's kind of suspicious to me. Another thing would be the method that Kurt allegedly had used, that he injected himself with heroin and then pulled a shotgun and killed himself that way. The problem with that is two things. One is that he had 3 times the lethal dose of heroin in him. So for him to be able to inject all that and then to roll his sleeves down neatly and then put the drug back into the kit because it was found, and then pull the shotgun at an awkward angle as it was like that. He'd be shooting like this. I know this is kind of funny that I'm doing, but I'm just trying to give you an example. And then it would just be hard to handle a shotgun like that. On top of that, the shotgun had no legible fingerprints on it, so again, what you would think there would be, and why didn't they do any tests and other things like that? Immediately, the police ruled this as a suicide, and I know some people may think, well, yeah, why not? I mean, obviously, it's no ground. The thing with that is, police are supposed to, whenever they come upon a dead body, they're supposed to treat it as a homicide until they can rule all doubts out and to confirm. They didn't really do any investigation, just asking people questions. They just kind of went, okay, this, yeah, we know it's suicide. It's just a druggie. Yeah, yeah, it's sad, but yeah, he killed himself. There's nothing to look at here. It's just that, it's not that's not proper procedure on the police's part. And Tom Grant, the private investigator who Courtney Love had hired, even said, "Hold on, guys, slow down here. Let's, look into this. I mean, we're rushing." And then they said, "We know suicide when we see one." Well, I mean, whether that was, if someone wants to say that was the police just screwing up or covering something up, that's up for debate as well. But another funny thing, or something that raises a red flag, the coroner, even though he ruled the date as being his death was April 5th, it was a real close friend of Courtney Love's, and the significance of that, he had ruled it as suicide, by the way, and the significance of that is that they were really, that Courtney and Kurt were it was no secret that there was a lot of animosity between the two leading up to the days of his death. Apparently, Kurt wanted a divorce. He wanted her out of his will, and she did not like that. And she was wanted to be in control of him, and wanted to keep an eye out on him because she knew if he left her, so would the money. And she was also apparently very angry at him for opting not to do the tour of Lollapalooza. And I believe he was going to get paid $8 million, and he turned that down, and she was not real happy about that. Um, it's just I think there was some things that should have been looked into. Uh, and another thing is that people just also that say, oh, it was a suicide. The people that say it was, it was suicide, no ifs, ands, or buts. I mean, like I said, I can understand that. But here's the other thing, looking at on the opposite side, if you will. Kurt said he was feeling better, and especially the day that Francis, they had taken Francis to see him when he was in the drug rehab. He was happy. He was in good spirits. Also, he had uh, planned to move out east and start doing projects with REM's Michael Stipe, and he also planned a fishing trip with his grandfather. So he had a lot of projects and things that he wanted to do. So it's not, and also the it's just not. It just doesn't seem like it's somebody that's not suicidal that would do that. And another thing is going back to the scene of the crime, the note that was found, the suicide note. Uh, the main bulk of it was written by Cobain, but then the last 4 or 5 lines, there was a distinct difference in it with the handwriting, and the main bulk was just about his message to the fans about he's quitting the music business. He's just tired of the fame. He just needed, whether he just needed time off or he was quit for good. He was just addressing, letting them know that he was burnt out. But then the last 4 or 5 lines, all of a sudden, start talking about death and saying, "Courtney, please go on for Francis. I love you. I love you." Those are the only time. Those are the only lines where it seems like he's suicidal. So there's just a lot of questions that I think need to be answered, and a lot of things that were just quickly overlooked. Uh, Deep down, I mean, so I always go back and forth, but I gotta say, I think he was murdered. I think he was. And whether Courtney had something to do with it, whether she had someone do it for her, um, I'm not sure if we'll ever find that out. I mean, I'm not trying to sound like it's a conspiracy nut, and but it's just something. Like I said, I mean, I brought up the points, and they raised some red flags and some questions that I think need to be answered, and why weren't they? So that's just my opinion. Feel free to let me know what you think, and even if you disagree with me, I would like to hear what you think. And if you would, if you disagree with me, if you think they are at least valid questions to some of them that I brought up, I will leave a link in the description below if you want to check out Tom Grant's website. It's cobaincase.com, where he talks about a series of timelines and everything like that leading up to the discovery of Kurt's body and everything like that. And there's also another site I can't think of the top of my head, but I'll leave a link to that too. And I'll leave a link to other websites that I have checked out in the past that I've always, whenever I go back to read it and, do some research on this topic. But yeah, that's that's it for this issue of my Unsolved Mysteries cases. I have a couple good ones planned coming up, so stay tuned for those. Anyway, as always, I'm Nam, and until next time, see ya.